My name is David McLeod, and I am your life mastery coach and author of the delightful little book, A Life to Die For. I'm also one of the co authors of the best selling series, The Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self Care. Now, I just want to say welcome to Life Mastery TV, your source for inspiration, empowerment, and fulfillment. This is episode number 227, and today our topic title is Divine Energy. So, divine energy, often referred to as spiritual or cosmic energy, is the pervasive force that's believed to emanate from the divine or higher realms. It is a life force that is said to flow through all living beings and through the entire universe. This sacred energy is imbued with immense power, wisdom, and love. Religious and spiritual traditions describe this force differently, but underlying concept is that it is the source of all creation and sustenance. In many ways, divine energy is like a form of cosmic Wi-Fi that keeps the universe connected and all charged up. It's like the ultimate data plan that's packed with love, wisdom, and good vibes. It's the invisible force that flows through everything, from the tiniest little spark particles in the universe to the grandest galaxies. You could say it's the universe's way of saying, I've got you covered. And we, as individual spiritual beings engaged in a human experience on the physical plane, are like divine energy antennas, consuming and benefiting from those spiritual signals in our daily lives. We meditate, we pray, we practice rituals, we do all kinds of things to improve our reception so that we can be in sync with that higher power. For this episode of Life Mastery TV, I've invited a spiritual channel and teacher with a background in healing and coaching to bring her perspective to the conversation. Angela Medway-Smith is a wealth of knowledge and wisdom that she uses to facilitate transformation and growth through our general connection to divine energy. Please join me in welcoming Angela Medway-Smith to our program today. Come on camera, Angela. Oh, there you are. Excellent.
Hi, David. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for joining me today. It's great to have you, and I know you're coming to us from. Well, you tell us where you're coming to us from.
I'm calling from London today. I live in Greenwich, the place where time begins.
The place where time begins, and I guess it's always beginning, isn't it? Because what can we say? And so
Yeah.
you're living in Greenwich. And as I shared with you on our private conversation earlier, I had the good fortune in 1999 to live in London for about, I think, 3 months. And Greenwich is a very cool place. I remember going there and heading up on, I think they have an observatory, if I'm not mistaken, up
That's right.
at the top. And it was really impressive to be up there. Actually, I loved everything about London. London is a really kind of a cool place in many ways. So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's an exciting place to live, and Greenwich itself is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Right.
It's stunningly beautiful.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing that you shared with me in our private conversation is I misidentified your accent. So tell us a little bit about where you're from and where that beautiful accent comes from.
So I'm Welsh. I was born and raised in South Wales, and live between Wales and London. So I was born about 20 miles from the place where the Druid Idris was born, who is the Merlin.
I see.
Really interesting part of the country.
Right. And I know that there's a lot of really incredible energy in that part of the world. And I'm wondering, so I guess I'm kind of curious. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and about your life and how you became so fascinated with this idea of divine energy and why you want to bring more wisdom about this into the world?
Okay, so my spiritual journey started almost 40 years ago when I moved to London as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And within a couple of years, I'd started a deep dive exploring different spiritual traditions, different ways of finding out who I was. So I managed to find an incredible teacher who I sat in circle with for 7 years. And I only left her classes because I moved back to Wales. And so that's where my journey began. So I trained as a spiritual healer, as psychic and a medium, and then worked with healing in the background. Healing is my passion.
Right.
And so worked with healing in the background continually until about 10 years ago, when my life changed and I came back to it and wanted to live my life in the way that made my soul sing. So started up my business then, teaching
Right.
healing, teaching intuitive development, and it's moved on and changed considerably since then.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So you've always had this, well, at least since you were a teenager, I think you said you've had this calling from within your soul to start connecting more and expanding more, and then bringing more healing into the world. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
I was actually in my early 20s. So I moved to London at 19 and I was 21 or 22 when
Hmm.
everything changed. And
Right.
I, it normal life didn't feel right without this exploration.
Right.
And I went down, it was like Alice in Wonderland. I went down so many different pathways, so many different avenues, learned about so many different things until I found and settled with Betty and developed this really intense and clear communication with my guides. So
Nice.
I'm really lucky actually that it was, that early in my life that this happened.
Right. Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. I just want to say thank you to the people who have shown up on the live call here today. I see Amina, Lori, and Scott are here, and there might be some more people that come in. What I'd like to do is invite you all, if you have comments or questions, please post them in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer those as we proceed. Um, and I really am glad you're here. Thank you so much for being here. So, Angela, coming back to something you said a moment ago, you talked about guides. You
Mm.
talked about your guides. I I hear a lot of people talking about that, and to me, that sounds like someone who kind of walks beside you and talks to you, and kind of lives with you on this physical plane. I don't personally have the experience of um, this energetic being talking to me. And so I'm curious to hear a little bit about your experience and how that works, and how you know you're actually being spoken to by a guide and not just your own consciousness talking to you.
Okay. Well, it's a conscious distinction, and I can recognize the energetic signature of different beings. Now, my guides have changed a lot over the years, but there's one constant guide who's beside me the whole time. And as I've
Mhm.
been learning about different things, different guides have come and gone, and stayed a couple of years and then disappeared off again. And the guide team I have now are yeah, well, they're completely different to the ones I started off with, apart from the doorkeeper or the gatekeeper, the guide who is beside me the whole time, who really doesn't have a huge amount to say to me on a day-to-day basis. So that's the individual who sort of keeps me out of trouble, if you like. Um, Along with my guardian angel, it's like a big, oh no, don't step off that curb in front of that, bus or anything like that.
Right, right.
But the guides I work with now, the majority of them come from the ascended master and angelic realms, because my work is so different to where I began.
Hmm.
So,
So
for
the angelic
example,
realms. So you're actually in contact with beings who identify as angels. Is that right?
yeah, I'm not just in contact with them. I channel these beings as
Right.
well.
Right.
So I'm a light trance channel, a bit like Esther Hicks, except
I
I
see.
don't give over my whole body, my whole physicality. Esther Hicks is a deep trance channel, but I'm a light trance channel. I know exactly what's going on, what's being said, and I hold a conversation with whomever is using my body to communicate.
That's
So,
very, very interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I shared this with you in our private conversation, but one I have shared this on this show before, where I've had in my lifetime I've had two serious car accidents. Both times I was driving a red sports car. There should be a
mhm,
lesson there, right? And in both cases, I had very minor injuries. And when the accident was over, there was somebody who spoke to me from the right side of the vehicle through. In the one case, it was a broken window. In the other case, it was through the sunroof. And the same question in both cases: Are you okay? And I wouldn't have paid any attention to this until the second time it happened. And that's when I realized, because this person did not stick around to help out for the accident, didn't do anything like calling 911 or whatever, whatever the number is in Britain, just wanted to check to make sure I was okay. And so I had this sense that when I really did some deep um, introspection after the second accident, which was almost 40 years later, almost 50 years later, by the way, that's when I realized it was the same energy in both cases that had checked in with me.
mm,
It had a physical appearance, so I could know that it seemed like a male energy, was there with me, and it seemed like he's there to kind of watch over me and to make sure everything is okay, but not to interfere with my choices or anything like that. That was how I perceived the energy. But I think what that experience really taught me more than anything else is that there's a lot more to this experience of having a physical experience in a spiritual essence, if you like. There's a lot more to it than just the physical. And many of us, especially those of us who have been caught up in our ego minds for so long, don't really open ourselves to the possibilities of that energetic exchange unless something weird like that happens in our life. And so, what I'm hoping to do with this conversation is to encourage people to not wait for the trauma to happen, not wait for some horrible, weird, bad thing to happen, but instead find a way to quiet the ego mind consciously and get yourself connected to your soul so that you can spend more time communing with this divine
mm.
energy that we've been talking about.
Well, it sounds to me that it was either your gatekeeper or your guardian angel. There are two different energies that have similar purposes, if you like.
Hmm.
Um, so, but in my view is that the best practice that anybody on a spiritual um, development mission or who wants to get to know themselves better can do is to connect to their guides, to begin a relationship with the guides. And the more you do it, the closer that relationship becomes. So, it's none of it is rocket science. There I teach people how to do this through meditation, the taking them to the spirit world, if you like, moving your consciousness upwards so that people without bodies, the guides and the angels, can connect with you. So yeah, none of it is rocket science.
Right. And some of us have no clue how to do it. So what I'm hoping that you can do is maybe give us a like a short 3 or 4 step process that we can begin to practice for ourselves to help us make that connection to whatever guides are available for us.
Okay. I generally do it through meditation. So there's a meditation on my website that people can practice with, but it is actually really simple. It's getting yourself to, as you said, this quiet space, this quiet place, and then consciously opening the gate, traveling through it into
Oh,
this into a place where you can be safe and connect. And for my students, when I lead them into the spirit world to sit at a specific tree, and this is their tree. They can go to this tree for anything to connect with, because it's the world tree, yeah, which allows them to connect to all the different dimensions. But they can ask for specific guides to come and step forward. So, for example, if I'm doing an attunement in divine energy healing, I'll just use that as an example. I will take the level 1 students to this place as part of their second attunement, because then they'll meet the guide who is with them for healing, and they can recognize this guide when they step close to them for healing by their, it could be any clair sense that they have. So, but by clairvoyance, by clairaudience, by color, by scent. And the more they work with this guide, the closer that guide is able to come to them. Yeah, so that's just one example.
right. Well, I really like this idea. I know that many times when I do meditation, it's always been in my practice more a case of inviting someone to cross over to come to me rather than me passing through a gate to them. This is the first time I've even thought of that. It's well, I didn't think of it. You told me, but
Yeah.
it's the first time that idea has come into my consciousness. So that's something new that I can try that I haven't tried before.
Well, we have to raise our vibration to be able
Yeah,
to access different frequencies, um, and different energies, whether these are, the dearly departed, and you're trying to connect to somebody who's passed over, whether it's guides who, um, I see everybody on different levels, if you like. So
sure.
whether it's
Yeah.
dearly departed, or whether it's guides, or whether it's angels or archangels, ascended masters, or the divine itself. We can move within these frequencies if we have a genuine wish to, and with no with the feeling of the what is good for the highest good of all and harm of none. You understand? It's not
Sure,
driven
of course.
by
Yeah, yeah.
wanting something other than your development or healing for someone else or the planet.
Right. Well, and absolutely. I think anything that's in high integrity is more likely to succeed you know, in having that elevation of consciousness that you're talking about. So, yeah, if we're coming from a place of ego, it probably isn't going to work very well. And y- yeah, this is really, really fascinating. And so, tell me a little bit about what it's like and what are the benefits of actually making this conscious connection with divine energy rather than theorizing about it. What do you experience for yourself and for your clients when you actually connect with this divine energy and call in whatever healing that you want and that sort of stuff?
Well, I'm a really practical person, and there always has to be a practical reason for this connection. So if I'm working with somebody and coaching, doing life and soul alignment coaching, I will I bring together traditional coaching methods. So, the wheel of life, the whole ordinary coaching method that your common or garden coach will use. But then I will use the connection to the soul, seeing with the eyes of the soul, for that individual to help them make this connection so they can see and feel what is in their soul's highest good.
Right.
And they begin to develop their connection with their guides and their soul. Though, in all honesty, when you consult your soul, it's tough love. You get you get it straight. You know, the soul sees all from its vantage point. It sees who you were, who you are, who you're yet to become. And, you know, so when you consult your soul, you will get direct answers, direct messages, and they're not always pretty. So I was reminded of this last week when my guide said, "Oh, you need to check in," and so I did. And my whole day I had soul sight, working, and it was like, "Oh, really?" Yeah, not always
Well,
pretty, but that's my experience.
sure, sure, sure. And why are we so afraid of truth anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
You
You
know,
know, the other guides will soften the message, and they will, um, you know, make it nice for you to hear, and but this the soul doesn't.
no, I know. And this is a really, really important point because our ego mind is designed to keep us safe. And it uses every trick in the book to get us to avoid seeing the truth if that truth is going to make us uncomfortable. And
Mm,
so this is a natural state of the physical part of our humanness. But when we actually understand that all of that fear that the ego mind is generating, when we understand that it's all entirely fabricated and it's all 99% illusory fear, then we can realize that there's nothing really to be afraid of. And when we understand that, then it becomes easier to hear truth, no matter what it might say, because it's not a reflection. Truth is not a statement about, you know, me being bad. It's just, here's the situation. If you're not liking this situation, here are some options you can do to change that situation. But who are you for real? Who are you really? And you've got to choose. Each of us has to choose according to that integrity of who we really are. If we don't, then we're out of alignment with ourselves and we're just creating bigger problems. The truth is always, always, always going to set us free if we just give it a chance.
absolutely.
Yeah. So one thing we didn't talk about, and I don't know, I'm sure we're going to come back to this topic in a minute, but let's be really clear about what is divine energy, so everybody can be on the same wavelength. I mean, personally, I have an answer, and I'm sure that you have an answer that's kind of just innate. And I think everybody knows really what it is, but I'd like to hear from you what your idea of divine energy is.
So to me, divine energy is comprised of different healing frequencies, different frequencies that we can access from source for healing, personal development, and to assist us on this human journey. Now, I work with particular frequencies of divine energy. So I work with the divine rays and the sacred flames. So people might be familiar with these through the work of the Theosophists, Helena Blavatsky, Alice Bailey back in the 1930s, Godfrey Ray King, um, Elizabeth and Mark Prophet, and Aurelia Louise Jones. Now, the main thing that I need to help people understand, and part of my mission here on the planet, is to explain that these frequencies that we have access to have changed since 2012 as our planet's changed. So instead of the original 12 sacred rays, we now have 28 we can access. So I've mentioned before that I'm a channel, And one of my major guides is the Ascended Master Saint Germain. And, you know, I've channeled 2 books for Saint Germain, and actually 3 of my books were his idea. So, yeah. And so I write about the divine rays and the sacred flames, and well, I put the books together in a 3D concept. I was completely instructed all the way along the line on what needs to be in there and what doesn't need to be in there. But they're just practical handbooks, so anybody can pick them up and look at them and work out what they, you know, what it means for them. So, for example, last night I was teaching about the violet flame, the 7th sacred ray, and how it can be used for transformation and transmutation. So really intensely powerful frequency that you know, we have a it's our divine birthright to access all of these frequencies, and there are hundreds of them, hundreds and hundreds of them.
I'm just looking on. There it is. I'm looking on Amazon for your books. I wanted to try and. So you've got several books here that
Yes.
I see. There's what is this first book that I'm seeing? The Book of Many Flames. Is that the one that you're talking about? That's the.
Yeah.
Uh,
I've got them here. So I've got the Book of
oh,
Many
okay. I'm
Colors.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Book
What?
of Many.
Yeah. Why don't you? So I was looking for the links for those so I could. So the Book of
Okay.
Many Colors. I see that one. I'm going to just grab that link
Yeah.
here. Control C, and I
So
will
if you
drop
just
that. Just drop
fantastic.
that in there.
So
That's the
Many
book.
Colors is Saint Germain's first book, and
Okay.
it basically tells you how you can find out your soul's purpose um, through the divine rays, and how you can work out which of the divine rays that your incarnating spirit decided to ride down on in this incarnation, which which basically sets the model for what you're here to do. So,
Okay.
for example, my incarnating spirit rode down on the 33rd sacred ray, which is overseen by Archangel Michael, and is I'll read it out for you what I'm here to do. It's really interesting. So it's all about alchemy. When I work with alchemy all the time, and I'm here to be a warrior of light. I'm here to do spiritual clearing, spiritual rescue, and I'm here to help people understand their soul's purpose, their passion, and also about spiritual protection. And it's fundamentally what I do.
Right.
I didn't know this when the channelings came through and I was given the information to put it together, but it was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That's a big task.
Right.
I do soul rescue work and entity release and stuff like that as well. So I do things like that as well.
Right.
It's
So
not
this
my
book
everyday
then.
work, but
Right. I'm sorry. I think I stepped on you there a little bit while you were speaking. This book, A Book of Many Colors. This you said is the first book from Saint Germain, and it
yes,
is really about finding your soul's purpose. And so
yep,
you recommend that people start with that.
they can do. You know,
Hmm.
it's a really good introduction into sitting within the energy of the divine rays.
Right.
Now, if you want to work on a deeper level, then there's the Book of Many Flames. So that teaches you how to tap into the power, the esoteric frequency that drives the rays to our planet.
Right.
So, like the violet flame, and you know, the flame of mastery, the flame of wisdom, the silver violet flame. You know, there are 28 of them. And
Right.
in the Book of Many Flames, you can start from scratch and learn how to use them and how to channel these frequencies. Now, here's the key: how to channel these frequencies for healing. So, whether that's healing of the self, healing of others, or healing of the planet.
Yeah,
So,
beautiful.
incredibly powerful, incredibly powerful.
So I'm going to just drop one more link in here. This is the link to your actual author page on Amazon. And so people can find all your books there, including a couple of books. You were one of the co-authors on at least one, I think possibly two of the Wellness Universe books.
Yeah, 25 Tools for Goddesses, David.
Yes, that's right. Which, and everybody's wondering, what the hell's that guy doing in a book about goddesses? I told Anna that I was going to support her no matter what. When she threw that title out, I was maybe this is not the one that I should be writing for. And she said, "No, I want you writing for me." I said, "Okay, fine." Anyway,
Right.
it was a lot of fun to tap into that spiritual nature in a new way.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah. Anyway, yeah, there's lots of great stuff here, Angela, and I'm really appreciating this conversation. So I want to thank you for being here, first of all, and I want to continue the conversation. Now, you talked about transmutation and transformation. Can
Hmm.
you please tell me a little bit more? What do you mean by those two terms, and what's the difference, and how do they relate to ordinary folks like you and me who are just trying to, make do in our lives?
Oh my goodness. So, transmutation, taking negative energy, turning it into positive, transmuting it, sending back to the earth, our mother, what we don't need so it can be repurposed and reborn as new, fresh energy. So, that's basically what transmutation is about. So, calling in the violet flame and moving this energy through your physical and energetic bodies will shift.
Hmm.
Incredible. It's an incredible energy for shifting. Transformation, on the other hand, so transmutation can assist your transformation. So transformation, I mean, the easiest example of this is the butterfly, is changing from one body, if you like, from one frequency to another frequency. So, you know, physically, I appear to be in the same body that I was born in, but my frequency, my energy body is completely changed with all of the work that I've done for over and over the years, as well as the physical stuff that every cell in our body is replaced every 7 years. So there's that part of it as well.
Hmm.
But so transformation is something different to transmutation. But the alchemical frequencies of divine energy can assist with both.
Right. Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It answers my question on a kind of a theoretical level, I guess. I'm kind of interested in it in a more practical level. I mean, I understand the concept of transmuting energy from one form to another, one that's maybe toxic and negative, and going through some kind of a healing and recycling process so that it comes out the other side in a more positive, uplifting, supportive, and loving way. I understand that concept. What I don't understand, aside from this idea of inviting in this violet flame, I think you called it. Aside from doing that, I don't really see a practical way of facilitating that kind of change. Maybe you can share a little bit with us about it.
Well, basically, when you get used to when you get used to calling in these frequencies, you can be. So I'll take, for example, one of the jobs I had was in a really really busy, high pressure environment. And if I felt, oh my gosh, I can't cope with this right now, I'd head to the loo. I would call in this energy, literally, just in the bathroom, and reset my energy, and then return to the situation with this energy transmuted and my being reinvigorated, because I've got used to using this. But I've got a free download on my website for people where they can use the energy of color for this, and literally it's you can do it in 2 minutes when you get used to doing it. And
Okay.
it
Well,
so
you
in
make sure
practical
you put the
terms,
link for that download on this on the chat here.
I will.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody is capable of using their mind to bring in their consciousness, to
Right.
bring in these transmutative energies.
Okay. So yeah, that all makes sense to me, and I think that the whole transmutation idea is almost well, it's a necessary step, but it seems to be like a kind of a first step towards general healing. Is that correct, or am I just misinterpreting here?
No, you're quite right. But in real practical terms, I work with the violet flame on a deeper level as well. So there are other frequencies within the violet flame, which are called rescue flames. So if I'm performing a healing for somebody, I'll very often, because I'm intuitive, just depends what the person needs. So I'll very often go in with the violet flame first, and it's like a power shower, clearing all that can be cleared easily before I then go in with a different modality like angelic Reiki or divine feminine Reiki. So it's, you can use this energy in healing sessions as well as in a general day-to-day sense.
Right.
Um,
Nice. Well, I certainly like the idea of a violet flame power shower. That's kind of cool. Who doesn't like a shower?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the rainbow waterfall, the energy clearing visualization that I've got for free, I tell people to take it into the shower and practice it in the shower for the first time,
Right.
because when you do this, and you have the sort of physical memory of water moving stuff away from you, when you then do it afterwards, your body will remember that, and it's the
Right.
remembrance of that that makes it more powerful.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I really like it. Of course, the waterfall idea, that's nice too. Hey, you want a real power shower? That's what you do. You step under Niagara Falls or something like that and just let it wash over you. And of course, in our imagination, we can do all that stuff with absolutely no harm. Um, we might not necessarily want to do it for real. I don't know if I'd want to have 100,000 gallons of water dumping on me at once for real, or at least
uh,
on my body.
I have bathed under waterfalls, but not Niagara Falls. That would be a bit much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Amina just said, "This is all so very awesome. This is the very thing I have been looking for to put into words." Well, that's fantastic, Amina. Thank you for sharing that. And I hope that you'll check out some of Angela's books and some of her materials. And by the way, Angela, don't forget to drop that link to your free download so people can get access to that as well. Um,
Okay.
yeah, this is all good stuff. I love it. It's very, very fascinating. And I mean, healing is something that, you know, all of us, I think we all need to do a certain amount of healing. Uh, and really, what is healing but a pathway towards wholeness? That's the way I view it. If I need to do some healing, it's because I have this perception, this idea, this sense of of disconnect or of something missing or something like that. And what I'm really trying to do is just bring it all back together into one integrous whole. That's what I think healing really is. And healing is not just about the body, of course. It's about the heart, the mind, the body, and the soul. So, yeah. Why don't you say some more about healing in general?
Okay, so I mean, my mission is expanded in terms of healing as well. So we have people come to a healer for healing for lots of different reasons. It
Hmm.
might be that they're struggling mentally, physically, or emotionally, or a combination of all of those things. And what a healer can do then is tap into divine energy, whatever frequency that. So if you've been drawn to a healer, it's because that healer is operating on the frequency that you need. Yeah. I
Right.
believe that we, like attracts. And then that healer can draw down the divine energy in accordance with the will of the divine and the will of the higher self, and kickstart the healing journey for that individual and start peeling away the layers of an onion. Now,
Hmm.
there are so many different healing frequencies available to people that so another of Saint Germain's projects was to teach people about different healing modalities. And so on the 6th of June this year, I was so blessed to lead the Energy Healers Oracle. So this is my seventh book, Energy Healers Oracle. And in the Energy Healers Oracle, we have 20 different healing modalities and 20 different master teachers, each of them in the brave healer world, giving a tool to the individuals reading the book so that they can go
Right.
away and practice at home. And this it's not over. There's another book next year. There's a volume 2 of the Energy Healers Oracle starting to fill up at the moment as well. Because how would you know how would you know what healing modality you need if you don't know about it, if you don't understand where it came from? And yeah, that's why this book exists.
Right. Well, and that's a great question. How do you know what healing modality you need? I mean, the first thing that all of us has to do, the very first step in any process is awareness. You can't really do anything if you don't know what's going on. you know
Mm.
and if we're just living our lives, from moment to moment, going through things kind of in autopilot mode, like sleepwalkers through the world, how much awareness are we really bringing as we go? We bring enough awareness to be able to stay out of the way of the bus that's coming, in the opposite direction, but that's about it for most of us. Once you learn to raise your awareness and become more conscious of things going around you, it's hard to let yourself slip back. You don't like slipping back. There's this. It's kind of like having an energy wrench, if you like. That is a ratchet kind of thing. As you turn it, you hear it click, and it kind of locks into that new level. And that's really what I think personal growth is like. You get to another level, that ratchet kind of locks in place, and you might backslide a little bit now and then, but you always want to get back to that because there's a sense of enjoyment, there's a sense of accomplishment, there's a sense of uh, just higher awareness, higher enlightenment, and that makes life so much more pleasant and enjoyable. So most people, I'm not going to say all people, but I think most people, once they've achieved a certain level of consciousness, they don't want to slip down to a lower level of consciousness. And so if
Yeah.
we can begin just by raising our awareness and then noticing all the things that we maybe weren't paying attention to before, then we can say, oh, well, what can I learn about this? And how can it help me in my growth? How can it help me in my healing? How can it help me in my transformation? And then what happens is you've already taken one step. And if you begin to accept everything around what's going on, rather than trying to fight it and reject it, if you just simply accept it, this is how it is, now you empower yourself to make new choices and to start maybe redirecting the kind of change you want in your life. It's a constant recalibration process, reintegration, recalibration, whatever you want to call it, realignment. Uh, Powerful, powerful stuff. And it all begins with a desire to become more aware. But just because you're more aware today doesn't mean you can't be even more aware tomorrow. And so that awareness can grow and expand and deepen, and yeah, there's just no end to it. And then you begin to ask yourself the question, wow, I'm aware of stuff, but who is the actual being that's actually becoming aware? And then you start thinking, wow, I'm becoming aware of some essence around me that's becoming aware. It's like
Mm.
awareness becoming aware of itself. It's something that the mind can't necessarily fathom, but the spirit understands intuitively.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's having the tools on that journey as well that can assist you. And that's where the divine rays and sacred flames come in, because you can tune in to a different frequency every day, if you like. So if you want to tune into the energy of mastery, because you're working on something and you want to master it, you might want to tune into the Ascended Master El Morya and the fourth sacred ray. If you want to tune into unconditional love, then you can choose the energy of unconditional love. And what's incredible is that you will receive what you need from that energy. Now, that sounds a little bit woo-woo, but your higher self, your soul, make sure that you do. If you're guided to do something, then it's for a reason. And that reason is your higher self leading you to that. So the books about the divine rays and sacred flames work so simply. There's also I don't have one here, but there's an oracle deck as well that goes with them. So you can choose. You can either open a book and say, right, okay, what energy do I need today? And so for David, your energy for today is the ray of grace. So it's tuning into the ray of grace, which is about flow and the path of least resistance, acceptance, and intuition. Now
Interesting.
that's exactly where you are today. But you can tune in on a deeper level by tuning into the Master Serapis Bay and the crystal selenite. So they're all different tools that can help you get to that energy, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
And
Well, and
literally, I
this
just
is
opened.
something that it just occurs to me now, uh, and there are tools to do specific things. There are sometimes multiple different tools that will all do the same
Mm,
thing in slightly different ways, perhaps. But here's one of the challenges that we humans have to face. Don't just simply go out and start collecting tools. That's not really going to serve you. And I can create a little metaphor here for you. I have done this very thing in my music. I do a lot of music, and I have hundreds of musical instruments. All VST virtual virtual instruments, plugins, if you like, each of which performs or something different. And the problem is, there's a part of me that just wants to keep collecting more instruments. you know, but I'm not actually using them all. I'm not using all of them, right? I'm using some of them. And this is the challenge that I think we face. And I know since I face it, therefore everybody faces it. So I'm just putting that out there. I'm just one little instance of a human being having a, or a spiritual being having a human experience. But my point is this: if you choose a tool, use it, find out how it can serve you, and make the maximum use out of it before deciding to switch to another tool. You've got to give yourself that fair opportunity, and really give things a chance. And remember, as Angela already pointed out, you know, sometimes you have to elevate your awareness, your energy level to a different level in order to solve a problem that was created at this lower level. You can't necessarily stay at the same level to solve the same problem or to heal the same disease. You have to elevate the energy level. And even Einstein said this. I believe he said it, he phrased it differently. You can't solve a problem with the same energy that was used to create the problem. And so this is something that we all have to be aware of. And there's that word again, awareness, right? So if something isn't working, don't just simply throw it away and say that doesn't work. Instead, start understanding what's really going on. Are you in resistance to it? Are you somehow preventing it from doing the job that it was intended to do? So give yourself the freedom to be in the space of the power of that tool before simply moving on to another tool.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for a lot of people, they see the new shiny solution, don't they? Without
I
actually
sure
looking
do.
at, yeah, yeah. And I mean, when you were starting talking about your musical instruments, I was thinking about my crystal collection,
Yeah.
and I was thinking, oh, right, okay.
Well,
um,
and look, I don't want to make it wrong. There's nothing wrong with collecting things. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just understand what it is that you're doing when you are collecting them. That's the point. And, in my case, I know that I was just collecting things for the sake of saying, hey, I've already got that. I've got that. And so when I talk to another musician, I can say, yeah, I got one of those. So there's a bit of ego involved there. No question about it. But I also have these instruments so that I can create music, right? And you have your crystals so that you can use them for the purpose of helping people to heal different kinds of things. And uh, yeah, so
yeah, I also teach crystal healing as well. So there is a reason why I have a lot of them, so that but that's my excuse. So I can invite these beautiful crystals into my home because I know
right,
that I can share their energy with students, and who will then understand what those crystals can do to help people. So I work with lots of different healing frequencies, and combine lots of different healing frequencies as well, intuitively, for whomever I'm working with.
right.
Ultimately, every every healer should be working intuitively, and for the person that they're working with, for their highest good.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think one thing I'd like to make sure we don't pass over is healing it's an inside job. Yeah, only I can heal myself. So when I'm working with someone, I reflect that with the other person. I say, you are the ultimate healer for yourself. I cannot heal you. All I can do is I can show you some tools. I can maybe help you facilitate certain kinds of healing and that sort of stuff. But I think ultimately each of us has to take responsibility for our own healing. And each of us has to recognize that it is the power of divinity that is going to enable us to heal, and the grace of God, if you like, that's going to allow us to heal. But we have to invite it in, we have to welcome it, and we have to accept that the gift that comes to us. And then whatever that gift encourages us to do in order to um, accelerate and speed up that healing process, then we have to listen. Again, awareness.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, this isn't sort of a pleasant thing to say, but we as souls choose certain events, choose
Mhm.
certain physical limitations and dis-ease and disharmony to learn the lessons that can be brought from the way that we deal with these situations.
Yeah,
It's what
absolutely.
we're here
Mhm.
on the planet for.
Mhm.
And when you work with an energy healer or a holistic therapist, all they're doing is facilitating your healing, because you're going to them, you're asking for their support. And I one of my student groups, several years ago, I ran a healing clinic so that they could practice. So we had an open clinic that the students were practicing on the public, and there were people who were coming along and having fabulous, absolutely fabulous results. And there was this one person who came along, and every week it was the same. Every week it was the same. There was no difference at all. Now there's two reasons for this. Either she's her higher self is not, this is part of her life's journey. There's going to be no shift, whatever she decides she's going to do. Or the other side of the coin, which sometimes this also happens, people become the illness and they have nothing else to talk to anybody else about. So they're not happy to let it go. They're not
Right,
happy to recover because it's
yeah,
all they have to talk to people about. They become this individual who's got this condition, whereas the person sat next to them is moving along the journey because they've decided to release it.
right,
That. But so ultimately, the healer can only facilitate what your higher self and what your soul's plan has
right,
in mind for you.
yeah.
You know.
I agree with you 100%. And um, I've done a lot of shadow work with people, which involves bringing awareness to different aspects of ourselves that might be resisting something because of a bigger fear that we don't necessarily know about yet, that hasn't been brought into awareness. Whenever I see something like that happen, I know that, well, my experience has been, I don't know this as an absolute fact, but my experience is there's a part of the person who is more afraid of what's going to happen after the healing than what is existing right now. And we have to bring awareness to that aspect, because until we bring awareness to that aspect, then we cannot uncover it and find the way to healing. And sometimes it means pretending that that part is like a, well, you use the term gatekeeper. So it could be that this is a risk manager, a gatekeeper, a traffic cop, whatever you want to call it, who's put a block in front to say, nope, you're not going there.
Mm,
And so what you do is you engage the traffic cop, the gatekeeper, the whatever, and ask that person, are you willing to protect this person as he or she does this work? Are you willing to be there if it gets too risky? And I'm really encapsulating this into a very small nugget, but ultimately it is possible, I think, because I honestly don't believe that the higher self is there to stop me from healing. I think that my higher self is there to help me to find my way to healing. And, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to recover from you know, a broken back or something that leaves me in a wheelchair with paralysis. but I can release any anger or resentment or upset or whatever about the accident and find a way to live my highest possible life while still in that wheelchair. That's the difference, I think. So I think you and I are on the same wavelength here. But I just wanted to bring awareness to that. And I noticed that our time is met. Wow, we just used up 60 minutes just like that. I don't want to keep you any longer than I already asked for. So what I'd like to do is say thank you so much for being here, and I want to give you a couple of minutes to just share any final words that you'd like to leave with the audience before I close us out.
Okay, thank you, David. Oh, it's been such a pleasure. I've absolutely loved it. Um, okay, so if anybody's interested in my work, they can find out, they can take a look at Amazon and look at my bookshelf, find my website, cariadspiritual.com, and I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Let me
And
just
there you can find what's happening with what I've got going on in terms of training, because I do a lot of online training. I was working with some beautiful souls in the States last night with the Violet Flame,
I
and they
just
can
put the
find out
link in
what
the chat there. Is that correct?
I can't see the chat, Dave. Oh,
Oh,
right,
it should.
okay, let's look. Yeah, I can see it.
I
Yes,
want to
that's
make
right.
sure I
Yeah,
got your. That's your website, right?
yes, that's right.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Just want to make sure I got it right. Go ahead, keep
that
going.
okay. And well, stuff I've got coming up. I've got some really beautiful stuff coming up. I've got retreats. When I work at retreats, I teach on them as well. So very often my retreats, you'll come away as a qualified healer at the same time, and I think that's the best way to learn actually when you're able to then to integrate the energy afterwards and really spend more than a couple of days. Um, you can go and learn Reiki, for example, in a couple of days, but then you're out of that energy. But on the retreats I organise, then you're embodied. You're actually living in the energy for a longer time. So I'm going to the island of Gozo in September, and then I've got a retreat in Greece next year, in Costa Rica in 25, and yeah, lots happening in terms
Right.
of retreats and stuff, and a new book next year. So if anybody is interested, if anybody is a master teacher of a healing modality and is interested in being in the next volume of the Energy Healers Oracle, I'd love to hear from them. Just drop me an email.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, you got a lot going on, that's for sure. And I know you're making huge waves in the world and increasing awareness and helping people to heal. I think that's fantastic, and I'm just delighted that I've been able to have you here on the program today. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, David. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. And so, to all of you, remember accessing and harnessing divine energy can help you achieve spiritual growth, enlightenment, and inner peace, and along with a lot of other great benefits as well. Aligning yourself with divine energy can lead to healing, transformation, and a heightened sense of awareness while amplifying your experience of compassion, forgiveness, and unconditional love. So I want to thank you all for watching today's program. And I'd like to remind you that you can catch the recordings of this and every other episode on my website at lifemasterytv.com. And finally, friends, before we close out, I'd like to invite you to remember to practice my life mastery mantra every day. It's real simple. It goes like this: I gratefully forgive the imperfect being I have been in the past. I gratefully accept the magnificent being I am right now. I gratefully welcome the evolved being I am becoming in each new moment. So until we meet again, I'm David McLeod, your life mastery coach, wishing you love, light, and blessings on your continuing journey. We'll see you next time right here on Life Mastery TV. Bye bye for now.